we are talking about the roaring 20s, but not the roaring 20s as in the 1920s, the roaring 2020s. And the fact of the matter is that we are just getting going. So I want to start off with a short poem that I wrote because I think it really does describe a little bit or a lot of it what's going on, and it goes like this. It's time to situate your situations. It's time to understand what's going down, down, down. For he who moves too slowly will simply perish in the night, but he who rides the river will not drown. It's time to understand what's going down, down, down. Yes, it's time to formalize what goes on behind your eyes. For he who moves too slowly will soon fall far behind, and the tidal currents wait to pull you down, 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 and the tidal currents wait to pull you down. It's time to move along, and it's time to sing new songs. It's time for us to hear what wise men say. For he who crosses bridges that are still dark at night will always need a light to guide the way. We always need a light to guide the way. So when we're looking ahead at planetary movement in the way that we're going to, I think it's important to understand that this is slightly different than the astrology that many of us do day in and day out, where we're looking at the charts of individuals. And here we're looking at the global effect of particular aspects. And as planetary aspects or planetary cycles affect the affairs of individuals, so too do they inform cultural affairs, the rise and fall of civilizations, and the evolution of ideas and technology. It really wasn't until Johannes Kepler figured out the laws of planetary motion that anyone could really spin these cycles backward and forward. And in fact, it was Kepler's wondering about the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction in 7 BC, whether that might be the Star of Bethlehem. That was really the first that we know of person who looked at long-term historical cycles. And yet today with computers, we have no problem doing that. We just put in dates and spin the information out, and away it goes. Perhaps the encyclopedia of this type of thinking, the encyclopedia of knowledge, is Rick Tarnas's Cosmos and Psyche. And although the material that I'm going to be using today does not come from Cosmos and Psyche, I think anyone who's interested in these kinds of views of culture, civilization, the history of the intellect, the development of technology, all these kinds of things, this is really the mother lode book to go through. So when we look at the big picture, the first question really is, can we even look at 10 years ahead? And if we can, what use is it? What value is it? And I think here the answer to this question varies. Well, the first question is, can we really look at 10 years ahead? The answer is, we can look at 10 years ahead, just like we can look at an hour ahead or a week ahead, just as we do transits, progressions, directions, perfections, time lords. As we use these techniques to look at an individual chart, by the same token, we can look at the big picture, and yet the focus becomes a little bit different. And I should say here at the start that I am basically in this discussion today, I am not looking at any little planet interaction. When I say little planets, I guess I'm including the sun, which isn't little and isn't a planet. But I'm basically going to be looking at Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, and we'll look to Jupiter as a piece in the puzzle as it floats in and out. But I'm not going to be looking at eclipses. I'm not looking at Mercury and Venus and Mars and Jupiter. I'm not looking at retrogrades at all, but I'm not looking at the retrogrades of the inner planets. this doesn't mean that that information is unimportant. It just means that we're focusing on a big picture of large cycles where these little repetitive cycles get lost in the larger shuffle, and yet they are so important to understand not only the nuances of the larger events, but also the timing of them. So I'm not dismissing them. I'm not suggesting that they are unimportant. I'm only suggesting, I'm only stating that for what we'll be looking at here today, that we are basically looking at Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. Now, I know most of you are probably very capable astrologers, but I'm going to run through these 5 planets and just give us a quick reminder so that when we look at the aspects, we're going to just look at some of the imagery of these. Excuse me. So first of all, obviously Jupiter is the biggest planet. And I'm always reminded of Plato's quote, excess generally causes reaction and produces a change in the opposite direction, whether it be in the seasons or in individuals or in government. In other words, Jupiter is the magnifying lens. It is the expansive energy. It's considered to be the greater benefic, but I always like to remind ourselves that the terms malefic and benefic are useful in a limited sense of understanding how planetary energies express, but too much of a good thing is not a good thing. And to say that Jupiter is good and Saturn is bad, or that Venus is good and Mars is bad, obviously doesn't cut it for us humanistic, psychologically oriented modern astrologers. When I think of Jupiter, though, I am reminded of a concept that a Buddhist friend of mine calls the tyranny of hope. And that is, the downside of Jupiter is that it's very easy to put off local action and immediate dealing with issues because we hope things will get better in the future. That hope is kind of a way of projecting our energy into the future, and it can be useful to have that anchor in the future to motivate us, but we have to be careful about misusing Jupiter and just saying, I hope things are going to get better. Jupiter is, in a way, it's the father Zeus. It's Zeuspiter, Jupiter, and Jupiter again is a magnifying lens. Now, remember, to the ancients, the combination of Jupiter and Saturn, that was what they had. That was they were the slowest moving, the heaviest weight planets. Saturn was the end of the road. It was the gatekeeper. There was nothing out past Saturn. Saturn was finality. When there was death, that was Saturn. That was it. It was over, and things were that was it. And things that were on this side of Saturn, as the soul came through the gates of Saturn, as an angel and a metaphysical being, a disincarnate spirit, came through the gates of Saturn. It became Lucifer, the fallen angel. And so Saturn is the gatekeeper, and Saturn is the reminder that we live in a material world. Now, I'm not going to go into this very deeply. I'm just going to mention that when we're looking at real events, we lean on Saturn and we lean on squares and we lean on the nodes. Why? Because they're all examples of the same phenomenon. And the phenomenon is that things pop into the material world as waves cross each other and make nodes. They make standing waves. They make points that don't move, that generate new waves. And even the illusion of things being physical in the real world, there's no such thing as things out there. Things are the result of waves crisscrossing with other waves. And the hardest way that waves crisscross is 90 degrees to each other, and that's 0, 90, 180, and 270. And those are squares, and that's why we rely on squares so much to talk about prediction, about things that pop into the material world.